Another loaded show coming your way on today's San Francisco 49ers Report. Here's what we have cooking up. What a season for the San Francisco 49ers offensively. We have some crazy numbers that we're about to break down as evidenced by the graphic at the bottom of the screen. Also coming up, the opponents for the Niners in 2024 have been released. We don't know when these games will be played, but we do know who the 49ers will play. So we'll do an all-too-early look at next year because this Week 18 game for San Francisco really doesn't mean all that much. Then on the back end, we're taking some questions from our loyal subscribers. Let's begin with the graphic at the bottom of the screen here. What a season for this offense. The 49ers, the first team in NFL history with the running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end to each have 1,000-plus scrimmage yards in the same season. We know what Christian McCaffrey's been able to do. In fact, we know that he's gone above and beyond that 1,000-yard mark. This year, more than 2,000 all-purpose yards for Run CMC, and this goes down as just a special season for number 23. 272 carries, most in the NFL. 1,459 rushing yards, most in the NFL. What makes him so dangerous, though, his ability to impact the pass game. And what a weapon he is coming out of the backfield or out of the slot. 67 catches for a running back is crazy. 564 yards and 21 total touchdowns. Those 21 total touchdowns tied with Raheem Mostert, former Niner, had a great 2019 season for the most for a non-quarterback in the NFL this year. And with what McCaffrey was able to do, number one, it goes down as arguably the best in-season trade of all time, a second, third, fourth, and a fifth for a player whose fingerprints have been so much on the success of this Niners offense. Number two, that is one of the best running back seasons that we will ever see. It's a pass-happy NFL nowadays. Teams don't value running backs. And when you think about the talent level and the skill set of McCaffrey, his dad, who played under Mike Shanahan, and those great Denver Broncos teams, alongside John Elway, McCaffrey's talked about this, that his dad really groomed him from the start to be an NFL player. And you can see it in his preparation. You can see it in his body of work, what he's been able to accomplish with the Panthers, now with the Niners, his longevity, considering the usage, but also the little details. He's a great pass blocker. He's a great runner in between the tackles, outside to the edge. He reads things when they happen. Really good wide receiver with great hands. He can track the ball in the air. He has great footwork. If you were to put a player in a lab, it's almost like Christian McCaffrey has been put in a lab. And his hard work certainly paying off this year. And he's also a friend of the show as we interviewed him last year during the Super Bowl week. And then to the wide receiver position. What a unique wide receiver duo that the Niners have. And both of these players, more than 1,000 yards from scrimmage. Brandon Aiyuk, a career year. I just don't see how you can't re-sign him. 101 targets, 72 catches, 1,300 plus yards. It's a new career high for him. 18 yards per catch. Leads the NFL. And he has 7 touchdowns to go alongside that. Next year will be the final year of his rookie contract as the Niners exercise his 5th-year option. And with how he played this year, last year, and really how he's been able to progress every year in his NFL career, all 4 years of them, I think that he's in line for more than $20 million. And the Niners are going to have to make it work because you want to pair up a wide receiver like this who's a complete wide receiver with Brock Purdy. And then you have Deebo Samuel, who did miss a couple of games. At moments, though, with his speed, athleticism, his physicality, he's looked like the specimen. He's looked like the player that was a first-team All-Pro back in 2021. And even in a down year for Deebo, still to have more than 1,000 all-purpose yards is really impressive. 87 targets, with 58 catches, 15 yards per catch. Continues to be maybe the most unique weapon, picking up yards after the catch in the NFL, and 7 touchdowns there. But with Deebo, he's so unique, he's so one-of-one, where he's also a running back. And he'll run right through you, run over you at 6 feet, 215 pounds. And the reason he was able to get past 1,000 yards from scrimmage is his ability, once again, on the ground. 36 carries, 214 yards, nearly 6 yards per carry, and 5 touchdowns. we're not going to see a lot of players like Christian McCaffrey over the course of NFL history, like Deebo Samuel. And then you have another one in George Kittle, who's also a rare breed. And I think that he's back to being the best tight end in football. Travis Kelce has been bad this year. Maybe it's the Taylor Swift curse, but also his play has declined because athletically he hasn't looked like the same player. And a lot of people have said in recent years that George Kittle's play was declining. He answered the critics in a big way this year. And he had one of the finest seasons of his career with one game to go. 90 targets, 65 catches, more than 1,000 yards, continued his aerial camaraderie with Brock Purdy, and he also had 6 touchdowns this year. And for Kittle, injuries have impacted him a little bit throughout his career, but when you look at his numbers this year, statistically, this is George Kittle's best year receiving the football since 2019. And it's the first year he has more than 1,000 yards receiving since 2019. And that's coming for a player who is 30 years old, and it looks as though maybe he's going to be able to remain in his prime for the foreseeable future. Only 3 players in Niners history have had 3 or more seasons, by the way, of 1,000-plus receiving yards with the team. Who are they? All-time Niners. Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, as well as George Kittle. And I threw that statement out there that I think Kittle is the best tight end in the football universe. Once again, here are his rankings among all tight ends in the league. Number 1 in receiving yards, number 1 in yards per catch, number 1 in yards per route run, and number 1 in passer rating when targeted. And when you watch him move, he does still look spry, he looks athletic, and he's still a physical force to bring down in the open field, and sometimes the quarterback's best friend is the tight end. So if you think Kittle is the best tight end in the NFL once again, type his jersey number and spam it down below in the comment section. You don't just have to comment once. You can comment as many times as you want. Type those 85s. And we talk about what Kittle's done, what McCaffrey, Deebo, Aiyuk have accomplished this year. That's also with Brock Purdy setting the record for the most passing yards in a single season in franchise history. And he's done it on fewer passing attempts than many of the quarterbacks who are in the top 5 in passing yards thrown this year. Completed 69% of his passes. I imagine he really wants to get that number up to 70. Maybe he can do that depending on how much or if he plays against the Rams. Got to be safe about that. He's thrown for nearly 4,300 yards, 31 touchdowns, 11 picks, and he sets the record for the most passing yards in a single season in his second year and in his first full season. Next up, the 49ers schedule as far as the opponents have been released for 2024. So let's take a look at who the Niners will play at home and on the road next season. Niners home games, they actually get 9 of them coming up. Got the divisional opponents in the Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. You should be able to beat all of those teams at least once. The Chicago Bears steadily improving on the back half of the year. We'll see what they do at quarterback and with their draft assets because they have a lot of them. Ryan Poles has done a solid job there. Chicago will make their way to Levi's Stadium. The Lions also going to come to Santa Clara. Keep in mind that against the division that the Niners will play, they take on the number 1 seed in those divisions. So, for instance, the NFC North, you play the number 1 seed. In the NFC East, you'll play the number 1 team that won the division, Cowboys or Eagles. Same can be said for the Kansas City Chiefs. You have the Patriots and the Jets at home as well. And that right there, 9 total home games. We're either going to see a rematch against the Cowboys once again or a rematch against the Philadelphia Eagles. The away games for the Niners, same deal. You're going to be playing the NFC West foes, Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks. Going to go on the road to Lambeau for the first time since that divisional round matchup in 2021 when the Niners knocked off the top-seeded Green Bay Packers. Minnesota Vikings, where the Niners have always historically struggled. Miami Dolphins going up against Mike McDaniel in a rematch of 2 of the more creative offensive minds in the NFL with McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan. And then another road game against the Buffalo Bills. They will also play the NFC South winner on the road. That could be the Bucks, Saints, or Falcons. So of these games, some tough ones, Packers, Vikings, Dolphins, and Bills. But again, those divisional games should allow you to stack some wins because I think San Francisco, regardless of what happens this offseason, still will be the team to beat in the NFC West. How many games did the Niners win in 2024? The all too early look. They've had a couple of really good seasons in recent memory. 3 NFC title games over the last 4 years, looking to make it 4 of 5 here in 2023. We're taking your questions and your super chats on the other side. First, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Factor. Get 50% off using the code NinersChat50. And with Factor, this is what I want you to do. I care about you. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals that are delivered straight to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart all of your resolutions. So go to factormeals.com/NinersChat50. You're getting a look at some of the delicious meals on the screen. You can pick your pre-made meals. They're prepped and cooked to perfection. You heat them up and enjoy them. Make sure you use that promo code NinersChat50 so that Factor knows that Chat Sports sent you. Oh! Mark Smith looking fresh in the profile picture and sending in a $50 super chat. My Niners will beat anyone in our view. If we stay healthy, then we will plow through everyone for the cup. Mark, I love that confidence. You stay healthy, you play clean football, and you play up to the Niners standard. You're Super Bowl 58 bound. You'll be in Las Vegas, and we will be too, interviewing players, interviewing coaches, providing you with the best Super Bowl coverage. Hamster sending in a $100 super chat a little bit earlier. Hello. And the 49ers are not scared of anyone. You look at the outlook of the NFC right now. Not scared of the Cowboys, not scared of the Lions, not scared of the Eagles, not scared of the NFC South winner. Rams, maybe a little bit. I think that team could pose some matchup problems because of the familiarity between Los Angeles and San Francisco, and that 7th seed. Who's it going to be? Packers? Seahawks? Not worried about them either. So I like that confidence as well as the faithful. They're bringing the heat. Lord, what players do you want to see sit and play on Sunday? Well, Christian McCaffrey is going to be out with that calf strain, and I see why. It's one of those injuries where he said you have to be smart about it. That's why he didn't go back into the game. I think that they should sit a player like Aaron Banks, who's been dealing with turf toe. Ambry Thomas will miss the game because he's getting hand surgery after having to wear a cast in Week 17 against Washington. If you do have the first stringers play, especially Brock Purdy, it's hard to say that Trent Williams should not play because if he doesn't play and you play Jalen Moore, who's been in concussion protocol, or he can't play, you don't have a left tackle. And if Brock Purdy gets hit, if he gets injured, you don't want to squander your opportunities to win a Super Bowl this year. So that's a player who's really valuable. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, also very valuable. I think what the Niners are going to do with what Deebo Samuel said on Tuesday on the Kay Adams show, the starters are going to play a little bit. And they're going to play to try to not have about a month in between the Washington game and when they get back into action in the second round of the playoffs. Sonny Dub, do you think that Ward might need a rest? He was hurting a few weeks back. You could use him against Nakua and Kupp. I don't want to give anything away against the Rams. And that's partially why I'm in a little bit of a predicament here. Knowing that you could face the Rams in the second round, you don't want to have to play them and empty the clip 2 times in 3 weeks. That's why it was important for San Francisco to win against the Commanders, get that number 1 seed, and then they got the benefit of the Eagles losing so that they could afford to take this game off and not unveil anything against a Rams team that, again, knows the Niners very well. The Rams, on the other hand, they are playing for something. Playoff positioning and seeding positioning in the NFC. They'd rather not go on the road to play the Cowboys in the wild card round. Although I'd love to see it because I think the Rams could pull off the upset. Wet noodle, but with Ward, yeah, look, he's been back since getting hurt. So I think he's fine right now, and it's a tall test to go up against Cooper Kupp and Nakua. Puka Nakua is just having a historical rookie year. But, I think he might be a part of the starters that plays a little bit. Could be wrong, though. How bad is CMC's ankle? I didn't watch the game. I was in Disneyland with the family. Wet noodle, hope you had a great time in Disneyland, ringing in the new year. It is not an ankle injury. It is a calf strain, is what Kyle Shanahan called it. McCaffrey even said it's not a big deal, but he's going to miss Week 18 against the Rams. There's no need to play him. And with those soft tissue muscle types of injuries, why even play him if you can risk re-aggravation? Because then that could keep you out for an extended period of time. So you rest him, you let Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason get the carries. I'm excited to see what they'll be able to do, and you just get CMC ready for the playoffs. Metal. What players do we know will not be able to return for the playoffs? I would think George Odom can't return with the biceps. I'd be surprised if Drake Jackson does return because you have Chase Young and Randy Gregory who are playing in front of him, playing better than he did. And in Gregory's case, he was taking snaps away from Drake Jackson before Jackson went on IR. Those are about the only players. Talanoa Hufanga torn ACL. He's not going to come back. Jair Brown hopefully going to be able to come back. He has a chance to play in Week 18, so that's good. But those are the players who are not going to be able to return this year. But Christian McCaffrey, Ambry Thomas, Aaron Banks, they should all be good by the time the divisional round comes around. Sonny Dub with another one. If we fall short this year, is next year the year we have to win? Have to pay Brock and the team isn't getting any younger. Yeah, that's a good point. The window is closing, and it's not closing fast, but things can change drastically and in a blink in the National Football League. We know that to be true. And we know that the year-over-year process in the NFL is crazy. So if you fall short this year, the pressure's on because you're paying big money to Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, hopefully soon Brandon Aiyuk, Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, soon to be Talanoa Hufanga potentially, Charvarius Mooney Ward, Dre Greenlaw. They might be looking for new deals soon. And you're not going to be able to afford all these players, even though the salary cap's going to continue to increase. Dr. Jasprit Dahar. Good to hear from the doc. He sent in a lot of super chats over time, so we really appreciate you. Is Jair Brown going to be our safety going forward in the playoffs? I hate that our secondary has been injured so much lately. Yes, he's going to be the starting safety. It's going to be him and Deshaun Gibson. And Deshaun Gibson, still, I don't believe has given up a touchdown in coverage this year. What a revelation he's been the last 2 years, playing on one-year deals for basically the vet men. And him alongside Talanoa Hufanga, very good safety tandem the last year and a half. Hufanga out for the rest of the year. The good news is with Jair Brown, we haven't called his name all that much. And for a defensive player, that's always a good sign in the secondary because if we're calling your name a lot, usually you're getting beat. So for Jair Brown, he's played really, really solid football. Instincts, diagnosing plays, picking passes off, playing in the box, in the slot, hybrid linebacker, deep. I think that Jair Brown not only going to be the starting safety moving forward in the playoffs, he's your future starting safety as that third-round pick that the Niners hit on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that sub button down below, or go to youtube.com/49erstv. And as always, thanks for watching the show.